Hello and welcome along once again to It'll Be Alright in the 90s, the podcast on the hard shoulder of the information superhighway with its hazard lights on. I'm Stu Joslin and my co-host, Alex Greenwood, has once again proved what a titan of podcasting he is by somehow making an enjoyable listen out of our chart episode last time out. Obviously, Joe Barter played his part in that as well, but that was possibly the lowest point I've ever been at while we've been recording one of our episodes, and you managed to salvage it, mate. So what can I say? I just want to say a big thank you. Thank you so much for that.
Oh, it's fine. It's amazing what AI will do these days.
Oh, it was AI, Stu?
Yeah, that was AI.
Oh, right.
Stu,
okay. Right. That does explain it. Yeah, I didn't remember saying quite a lot of what I heard.
There's only so much manual editing you can do around someone who's semi-conscious in a paint fume-filled room. So
in the dark.
No, it was fine. Don't be silly. It was you were fine, and we all have our low ebbs. And this podcast is mental health friendly, and we're aware of all that. So we're a team. We
absolutely are. But it was a confluence of things that led me to that point. Obviously, there were the fumes in the room. The light bulb went during the record, which didn't help. The only beer I had in the house was Carlsberg. I didn't have any of my nice non-alcoholic pale ale, which I usually like to drink while we're recording here. And what I didn't tell you at the time was that about 10 minutes before we started recording, wife of the pod, Beth, dropped my Home Alone Lego house.
Oh, no.
So the entire ground floor of the McAllister house had been decimated. And that was playing on my mind as well, knowing that there would be a big rebuild job on that. But here we are. You know, the paint fumes have gone. I've got a new light bulb in. I'm in brilliant LED light here now that I've finally got the right bulb for the socket, which was proving to be the problem.
The ghost of Mick Hucknall has been exorcised, hasn't it?
It has. Mick roams no more around here in Shea Joslin. Yes, we're back and we're good to go. And I'm pleased to say that we've got a great sponsor lined up for this episode as well. Our sponsors for this week are Quartz Furniture. Simply quote the code ALRIGHT90s at the checkout to receive 5 years interest-free credit with nothing to pay for a year on any purchase totaling over £1,000. Alex and Stu from It'll Be Alright in the 90s say, we'll see you in Quartz.
Yes, we will. Was that their actual slogan?
I think it was. I watched an advert with Bruce Forsyth made up as like a judge in Quartz, the furniture store. Yeah. And they were wheeling all of these products past him and he was banging the gavel on the thing. And, it's a lovely bit of business. Very funny indeed. Time once again for a quick look at the pod notice board. Alex, what have you got pinned up this week?
The only thing I have is that we felt the cold, clammy hand of the law on our collars yesterday, didn't we? We had a slightly alarming moment. So, yes, you messaged me this screen grab yesterday during the day, and it is from Spotify, and it says, in big letters, we have found some third-party content on your podcast. And then below that it says, please review each episode before the form closes. Otherwise, we will assume that you have a license and will get in touch with the relevant rights holders to double check. And the episode was season 2, episode 23, A Beige Larder, which was our Christmas number 1 episode with Catherine and Dan from Just Before Christmas.
It certainly was.
And the offending song was Earth Song by Michael Jackson. And of course we were panicking. Oh, it said in red letters, 70 hours left to review this episode. So basically we essentially thought this was the end, didn't we? We thought
we did. Yeah,
we were knock on the door.
We were packing things into cardboard boxes and getting ready to go.
Yeah, I was burning stuff on an open fire in the corner of my room.
But then when we looked into it, Spotify do give you the chance to explain why the third-party content is there. And they give you the chance to specify that you were reviewing the content, you were discussing it, you were parodying it. And, I mean, what was the biggest set piece in our Christmas episode last year? It was the greatest game show podcasting has ever seen, Jacko or Kako.
Yeah. The word clearly got over to Michael Jackson's camp, and they got wind of this new success and possible revenue stream for them that they were missing out on. And they came knocking, didn't they?
They did. I mean, we went and tried to raise Jeff straight away, but his secretary said he checked out for a long lunch at about 12:30 and hadn't come back. This was about 4. So maybe he'd been caught up with some other legal matters on our behalf somewhere else, I would like to think.
Well, I might have something on that later, actually, so we'll come back to that. But my favourite line from their message was, otherwise we would assume that you have a license and we'll get in touch with the relevant rights holders to confirm. I love the idea of them. It's slightly sort of passive-aggressive, the way they say that, and sort of sarcastic. I love the idea of them saying, oh, so you've got a license. That's fine, is it? Well, I'm just going to ring up Michael Jackson's team here. and I'm going to, I'll see what they think. And then they ring through to the Jackson family estate. There's this Tin Pot 90s Nostalgia podcast in Wiltshire that's using your song. Is that okay? Did they ask you for it?
It'll be all right in the what?
But anyway, I'm glad that's all disappeared because, as you say, our lawyer, Jeff, would have been absolutely no use in that situation, I don't think, even if he was sober. But
yes, we had to take matters into our own hands. But I'd just like to state for the record clearly now that any third-party content we use on this podcast is only ever to illustrate points for review or further discussion. And that puts us in the clear legally. A few notices from me. First of all, Alex, were you aware that the Spice Bus from Spice World is available to rent as an Airbnb on the Isle of Wight?
No, I did not. That's fantastic. I know a couple of people who'd be really interested in that, actually.
It absolutely is. This came to my attention recently. Myself and my fellow bandmates are off to the Isle of Wight again this year, and we were beginning to speak about accommodation. And the Spice Bus came across our barrows as a potential, but we have since discounted it because it is a little bit on the pricey side, and also we're not entirely sure if it's sort of open all the time. But what a dream to spend the night on the Spice Bus in a lovely seaside location. That'd be brilliant, wouldn't it?
It'd be fantastic, yeah. I've still never seen the film, though, so I don't really know how significant that bus is, other than I think it appears quite a lot in the video for... Is it Too Much that it's in?
That's the one. The one that they threw together while they were making the movie.
Yes, exactly.
So it makes perfect sense. Another point to note is that the final Aston Villa goalkeeper shirt that's missing from my collection is currently on eBay, and I am currently keeping a very close eye on proceedings. It's 5 days left to run on the auction as we record this, so by the time we get together next time, I'll either be wearing the shirt here on the record, or I won't be, in which case you'll know that the price went far too high. But it's very reasonably priced at the moment, but there haven't been that many bids on there, so I will keep you informed on that. One other small thing is that I watched the original Men in Black movie from 1997 over the weekend, and I enjoyed it just as much at the age of 35 as I did at the age of 8. I just thought I'd drop that in there.
That's great to know, yeah. It's a great film.
I'm sorry, an extra piece of paper has just made itself known on the notice board. This one must have been pinned up in great haste because it's just come to my attention. We, of course, are massive fans of the Top of the Pops reruns on BBC4 of a Friday evening here at It'll Be Alright in the 90s HQ. Alex, Jeff and I, and sometimes Diamond Joe, we gather around the TV in the office and have a look at the episodes every Friday. And I just wanted to speak about a couple of points from the 14th of December 1995 episode, which was on last Friday as we record this. So this edition was presented by John Peel. It was his first appearance as the presenter of Top of the Pops for quite a while. And at the very end of the episode, Michael Aspel appears and presents John Peel with the old big red book.
Ah, nice.
And whisks John Peel off for an appearance on This Is Your Life. I only remember seeing this happen once before. I remember watching an episode of Family Fortunes when I was a kid. And at the end of the episode, when they're all waving to the crowd at the end after they've either won or lost, Michael Aspel came out and presented Les Dennis with the big red book, and that made it into the final edit of the show. So that was interesting to note. But what I really wanted to talk about were a few entries in the top 40 from this week. So remember, this is the 14th of December 1995, so we're right in sort of Christmas 95 period here. So in at number 35 were the cast of Coronation Street performing Always Look on the Bright Side of Life.
Oh my God.
1 week in the chart, peaking at number 35. In at number 36, did you know that there was a follow-up Christmas single from Mr. Blobby?
No, I didn't.
Would you be able to possibly comprehend that it might even be worse than the one that we all know and hate?
Not possible.
So this is Christmas in Blobbyland, which peaked at number 36. And this has some narration from Noel Edmonds. It sounds like he's like putting Mr. Blobby to bed on Christmas Eve. And he's saying, the sooner you go to sleep, the sooner it'll be Christmas Day. Blobby. Oh, it's all, you've got to listen. You've got to hear it to believe it.
It's Christmas Eve, Mr. Blobby. Have you hung up your stocking?
No.
Have you left out a mince pie and some milk?
No. Blobby.
And some carrots for the reindeer too? Well done. And have you sent your letter to Santa?
Blob.
Don't worry, I posted it for you.
Oh, Blobby.
Go on then, it's time to get to sleep. Oh, I know how hard it is to get to sleep on Christmas Eve, but the sooner you get to sleep, the sooner you'll wake up, and it'll be Christmas.
And then at number 25 is Michael Barrymore performing a song which was originally a duet from the musical Miss Saigon, which he's performing both parts of, and it's called Too Much for One Heart, and that peaked at number 25. So I watched the artists going past on the top 40, and these obviously flag themselves up to me as needing further investigation. I've done it so you don't have to, Alex, listeners. Please don't listen to these because this is really not worth it. But there you go, Christmas 95, Coronation Street, Michael Barrymore and Mr. Blobby all in the top 40.
That is fantastic. And well done for going to check them out on our behalf. That's sort of the 90s nostalgia podcast equivalent of reporting in a war zone, isn't it? You're the Jeremy Bowen of 90s musical nostalgia there.
Absolutely. We go where normal nostalgists fear to tread.
Yeah, I mean, that's what sets us apart, isn't it? That fearlessness.
It really does. I tell you, I'm having some sleepless nights now.
Stu, do we have anything in the mailbag today?
Yes, we do. We've had a message from a brother of the pod, Adam, who says, just started listening to this episode. He's referring to the British touring car episode from a few weeks back. And I just want to say that I had one of the Comic Relief colour change T-shirts. I thought it was pretty great. The tomato went from red to orange, which I liked because it sort of showed the ripening process. Do you remember this, Alex, in the Greenwood household?
I do remember, yeah. Yeah, a classic brother of the pod T-shirt right there. And I was very envious at the time of those. It was, as we said, the height of the color changing T-shirt phase. So, yeah, prime example of it.
I remember I had a Matchbox car. I'm fairly sure it was a Peugeot, but it had color changing paint. If you held it in your hand, gripped it in your hand, the paint would change color.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't, you're right. It wasn't just clothing that had the color changing based on heat thing. It was in other mediums as well.
Come on, big business, bring back things that change colour. Adam also says, I just remembered I had a dream where Dad of the pod was the new host replacing Stu. And then I responded by saying, judging by my paint fume impaired performance on last night's record, that wouldn't be a bad idea at this moment in time. How do you think Dad of the pod would get on as your co-host?
I just think his relationship with Laura of the pod, Jeff, has just compromised it, really. Mm-hmm. I don't see how it would work because of that. So I can't see it happening anytime soon. And anyway, obviously, as we've discussed, you're back fighting fit, so no substitute needed for this episode or any future ones as it stands. So I think you're safe and it's for the best.
As it stands, I mean, the next time I decorate a room and we have a podcast record planned for the same week, things might all go sour again. But I will really try and learn from my mistakes.
Yeah. Put the lid back on the white spirit next time.
Oh, bugger it. I forgot about that.
I have one very short but intriguing thing here. This was on Twitter, and this was left under our BTCC episode, which Stu just mentioned. And it's a friend of the pod, Requester90s, who said, I went to Snetterton to cover the video stream for a 2CV endurance race once. Also, I've met Quentin Wilson. So...
don't leave it like that. I mean,
I know.
How was he?
I know.
What did you talk about?
I replied to say, well, what's he like then? And Requester90s liked that post, but hasn't responded. So I'm going to have to chase it up because we need more on that, don't we?
Don't leave us hanging, Requester90s, please. While we're talking about friends of the pod, can I just give a big mention and a big well done to our good friend, postmaster of the pod, Mark from Glasgow, who appeared on Popmaster on Greatest Hits Radio this morning as we record this. And he won. He went through to 3 and 10. He got 3 Westlife singles like that. And it was a really, really amazing performance from Mark. So I just want to say very well done, mate. Fantastic.
Yeah, that's incredible, Mark. So, yeah, big congratulations from everyone here at It'll Be All Right in the 90s HQ.
Bit sad that we didn't get a mention when you got to say hello to people at the end. But, you can't have everything, I suppose, can you?
Nah, it's fair enough. I guess he was a buzz with the success. So... Fair enough.
I'll forgive you, Mark. I'll forgive you.
And one final thing in the post bag, and this relates back to what we were just saying about the Jeff being AWOL when we were confronted with Spotify's legal team. Because this message comes in from Dad of the Pod, who has another missive following on from his other messages. And he says thus: exciting news. Alex's mother's senior all-in wrestling club has gone professional. They've got a manager who has organised some public bouts. Only in care homes so far, but surely ITV will pick it up. Batter and Natter, 3 p.m. Saturdays, ITV4, I reckon. I will give you one guess as to who their manager is. Yes, of course it is. He's come up with some exciting ideas about a regional ladies wrestling league, and he says it will only need a small amount of seed money to get it off the ground. He told them they need to look the part and fierce themselves up, in inverted commas. To this end, he's got hold of a DIY tattoo kit. Looks like a modified electric toothbrush and some printer ink to me, but I'm no expert. Unlike Alex's mother, who, as Alex probably knows to his cost, is an enthusiastic amateur tattooist. But the lady wrestlers unanimously opted for a tattoo of Alexander Armstrong, so not very fierce after all. And I will no longer be going to the care home displays. The last one, in the interval, I went to see if there was any Wincarnis in the canteen, and a kindly nurse, assuming I was a confused resident, put me in what was actually quite a nice room and locked me in. I had to climb out the window, snagging my braces on the catch and dangling there for quite a while before Jeff rescued me. He took photos, of course, and has pinned them to the Masonic Hall notice board. So that probably explains why Jeff was not around when you went to him today, because he's dealing with this new side hustle he's got here.
So in our hour of need, we're faced down by the lawyer team from one of the biggest musical artists in the world. And he's diversifying into sport on our time.
I know. It's just diverting all the funds, isn't it? And he's trying to, I'd say invest, but I'm not sure if it sounds like a particularly sound investment. But I don't know if it's some. I mean, I don't want to suggest things that are potentially libelous and also might land us in trouble. So, yeah, it's not great, is it?
I mean, I tried to get the new light bulb for this room as an expense on the podcast, but he wasn't having it.
No chance. Well, thanks for dipping into your own pocket for that.
Well, I mean, anything to keep the show going, you know me, but I just don't think it's right.
Time now for What's the Most 90s. And this one was actually suggested by brother and legend of the pod, Adam. And it's a really good one, so I'm glad that we've come round to it. Because I'm asking you, Stu, what the most 90s sound is.
I'm going to play my sound in now. And I haven't prepared any argument around this sound. I haven't got any words to accompany it. This sound speaks for itself completely. It will speak for itself to you and all of our listeners. I'm going to let the sound do the talking. That's it. That's all I've got to say.
Well, in that case, I'm going to do the same with mine, so I'll play it now.
Is this the shortest What's the Most 90s of all time?
I think it might be.
I mean, that sound just stirs so many memories, so many happy memories of so many different games in the late 90s on the PS1. Yeah. And I think it's an iconic console boot noise.
Yeah, I almost can't find the words to describe how much that sums up my 90s, really. Especially the second half of the 90s. Yeah, it was just my life, really, for so many years. And it helps that it is a really atmospheric sound, isn't it? Like it's really well designed by Sony. Have we actually said that we have confirmed that it's the startup noise for the PlayStation 1? I guess anyone who was like into Nintendo or Sega might not. In fact, I don't even know if that's true. I think everyone would have known this. Even if you didn't have a PlayStation yourself, you would have heard this.
I think so. Yeah, definitely.
I guess there are other possibilities. The other big one, I suppose, would be the dial-up sound of internet, which is a classic one, maybe more universal.
I did give a small thought to the Windows 98 startup sound as well, but the PS1 just knocked everything into a cocked hat for me in the end. I'm glad that we've agreed. It's nice that we have this synergy, and it's nice to be able to put it straight into the ledger without opposition. But of course, we're interested to hear from the listeners on this as well, aren't we?
Yeah, if anyone can beat that, well, we'd love to hear it, because you're going to have to make a strong case.
But,
no,
yeah.
It's going to need to be a very strong case, but let us know.
Tonight on It'll Be Alright in the 90s, we're looking backwards to look forwards, and we're taking a look at what the TV programmes of the 1990s thought the future would look like in terms of technology. And Alex, I have to say, you've really curated a few fantastic clips here that really illustrate what was going on at the time and what the thoughts of the future were.
Yeah, thanks. I did find a few clips that spanned the whole decade and dipped in and out of different subjects and across more than one program, although it's mainly focused on Tomorrow's World, which is, of course, Britain's sort of premier futuristic technology program of the day. Yeah, it was fascinating to just go back and look and see where people thought we were going, where we were going to end up in 10, 20, 30 plus years time. So hopefully our listeners will watch along with us, as it is a watch along episode and it'll really enhance your experience of this podcast. So we've put together a playlist on YouTube, which will be linked to below, and it's in chronological order and it'll go through the episodes as we watch them. So yeah, do watch along and see what you think, because the visuals are quite important for this. So yeah, click on them.
Absolutely. I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into this. But before we do, a quick word on Tomorrow's World, which obviously was a very long-running BBC programme about technological advances in all sorts of industries and areas. Is there any sort of spiritual successor to Tomorrow's World? Are we still looking towards the future in the same way? I mean, we all know the planet doesn't have much of a future at the moment, so maybe that's why it's not happening on TV. But I'm struggling to think of any other programme that's like Tomorrow's World that is on TV now.
No, I can't think of anything. There was a gadget show, but that was always stuff that was just coming out or on the verge of coming out. It wasn't really looking ahead to future years. And apart from that, no. Like you say, I think the future feels quite bleak now in a way that it didn't so much in the late 20th century, where I think it was a bit more forward looking. Now we're just thinking, are we going to survive that far? So maybe that is part of it, or maybe it's just that technology is got so advanced that, I don't know, it feels like there's less possible. But I don't know, maybe everyone has always thought that throughout history, but I don't know.
I think it might be a mixture of the two. Like, people aren't looking towards the future with as much wonder as they did because of the situation that we find ourselves in as a civilization, but also the rate of advance that there has been in technology in the past, well, even in the past 30 years, has been so phenomenal that the next big thing maybe won't be looked on with as much wonderment as it would have been in the past, possibly.
Yes. And before we get started, I should say that the idea for this episode came again from brother and legend of the pod, Adam. So basically this episode was written by Adam in some ways. So thank you very much to you, Adam, for coming up with yet another great idea for the pod.
I can't help but feel that this will eventually in time become a Greenwood-only production, an in-house Greenwood production, and I will just be slowly edged out. Maybe Jeff was away working on some sort of way that he could ease me out of the contract.
It'll turn out that he's actually a Greenwood. He's my uncle.
Oh, Jeff Greenwood. I should have known.
No, that's not true. That is not true. Right, so we are going to be going all the way back to the beginning of the decade, 1991. And this is an episode of Tomorrow's World. And we are watching this clip from the beginning all the way up to 3 minutes 47. So let's start with that now.
Right on target. Well done, Bob. Let's see. It's Thursday the 16th. What am I supposed to be doing today?
Okay, we've got a lovely grayscale touchscreen here that's being used with a stylus to begin with. You can't see what's on the screen because of the studio lights.
Yeah. Look at the size of that personal organizer. It's like a volume of the Encarta, not the Encarta, the Britannia, Encyclopedia Britannia.
It's so big. I just can't believe that was looked upon as a massive improvement from just having a small pen and paper style diary.
Yeah, it's crazy. There was a mention there from the presenter whose name I have completely forgotten, but she does mention the term yuppie there, saying that personal organisers were mainly used by yuppies, which is very true. I definitely associate filofaxes and personal planners with yuppies.
But in the paint shop,
A term you don't really hear at all anymore, do you?
No, the Filofax seems to have died out, which is a shame. You know, I would love to see more Filofaxes in the wild. We've taken a diversion now to a Jaguar factory, a Jaguar car factory.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the way that
they check the paint, don't they?
Yes, absolutely, and they're using these sort of body-worn computers in order to mark where the imperfections are on the bodywork.
Yeah, because previously they'd just done it with a printout and then a pencil just on the paper, which, I mean, to be honest, it is not like, doesn't seem like it's the worst thing in the world. Although he is leaning on the car to write on that with the biro, which is probably causing more imperfections than he's actually checking.
Paint's not even dry yet, Bob.
There's several hundred Jaguar Sovereigns from 1991 that have got the imprint of biro words on the top of the bonnet there.
Now this computer is it's supposed to be mobile, but it has to be worn with a shoulder strap
It's so
in
big,
order to help take the weight. It's so big.
Oh man, look, he's barely struggling to walk carrying that thing.
But it is interesting to see it in a practical use, you know, actually being used in the workplace. And then it gets plugged into a more regular looking desktop computer.
Yeah. Oh, what's that sort of printer called when it's got the like the holes down the side to feed it through? Like very old school printer.
Dot matrix.
Oh, it is dot matrix. Okay, yes, exactly. That's what's being printed out onto there.
Using the same sort of system, a waiter could take your order at a
Oh, I like this bit.
for the whole meal, and then you could get a nutritional breakdown of the whole meal. And if that impresses you,
Who wants that? Who goes into a restaurant and wants a nutritional breakdown of the meal they're choosing?
And then you'll be
Utterly bizarre. Although I suppose, you know, calories are now a staple feature of menus in any restaurant you go into.
Yeah, that's true.
But still, it's written on the menu. It doesn't need to be written on a massive screen that somebody brings to your table.
Exactly, yeah. It's weird because I mean, waiters don't even use iPhones or, you know, smartphones to write stuff down, or tablets. They just do it in their memory or on paper like they always have. It's unnecessary to develop that.
We're doing some handwriting recognition here now.
Yeah, this does seem quite advanced because you don't. I mean, maybe it's just not something you see every day. But I'm just pausing that now because that's the end of that section. But yeah, handwriting recognition we don't really have now that much, do we?
It's not as mainstream as it was being suggested here. I think it is in use in some cases when people use drawing tablets to do handwriting recognition and things like that. Speech recognition, obviously, is maybe a bigger thing than handwriting recognition is. But, I mean, is it something that's really required?
I think back then it was like everything had to be... It was touchscreen, but you had to use a pen or like a stylus thing to type it all in. So it wasn't very practical for typing a lot in. Whereas now, so we're so used to having a full keyboard on whatever whether it's a tablet or a phone, that you don't need to handwrite stuff because you can just type it in at the same speed. I guess that's why it is, isn't it? You don't need it. But it's quite surprising that we had touchscreens so long ago, like right at the back of the 90s, right at the start of the 90s. But it took quite a long time from there to get to kind of, iPhones and stuff, which I think was 2008 or 9-ish.
Yeah.
So there was a big gap between the early touchscreen and then proper decent handheld touchscreen. But an interesting timepiece nonetheless. Right, I'm moving now to 540 on the same video. So let's scroll forward. Here we go with...
Oh, this is very good. I enjoyed this a lot.
Yeah, this is starting with an image of a tennis court. So that's where we're starting. 5 minutes 40. Let's go.
The French Open Tennis Championship in Paris, one of Europe's most prestigious...
So we're live at the French Open,
but it's not the tennis,
which is interesting enough as it is.
It's what's recording the tennis and recording
a
high-definition television camera on trial as part of Europe's proposed system.
HDTV in 1991 on trial.
Yeah. It's crazy, isn't it? Massive camera, massive TV camera. I guess they are still pretty big, but that is huge.
On a piece of the action, but all that could change sooner than you think.
Lovely.
And then
that.
the presenter then, and you can see if you watch the TV in the background, that is not a still because her hair's blowing in the wind. So she's standing with her arms stretched while this guy in the chair's talking for minutes.
One technique is called pan and scan. An editor re-records.
So this is the advent of widescreen TV coming to Great Britain.
Yeah, and they're explaining how before widescreen TVs they were all pretty much square, but when you showed a film which was probably widescreen, was filmed in widescreen, the editors, whoever it is, would have to just select the most important square of that widescreen image to show. So it wasn't just like that they would squash it up, although that did happen with those old TVs. It would just be showing you less of the actual picture, which is crazy. I mean, when they show that pan and scan bit, it's such a tiny square they're using. I mean, it must have missed so many important background characters from films back then.
Yeah, definitely. And now we've got the sight of the presenter being broadcast on a TV from a different part of the studio.
Yeah, I don't know how she's done that. She's got all the way from the French Open back to the studio.
Yeah.
In double quick time.
And she's presumably been allowed to put her arms down as well, which is obviously very handy.
I love how she's looking at him there, though. from the TV screen, she's looking up at him. It's pretty well done.
Well, too early to say.
His hedging is better, though, isn't he?
He is. There's a little bit there which we talked over, I just wanted to highlight, which was that he's fiddling between the two TVs to try and demonstrate the difference between widescreen and the normal ratio. And the widescreen TV doesn't do what he wants it to do, and he just sort of says, "Oh, well, that hasn't worked."
Yeah, yeah.
Which I found very funny. And they left it in. That's not a live program.
Yeah, I know. I noticed that when I was looking back at these clips of Tomorrow's World. There are lots of bits where people stumble over their words. It's so unusual to see because that just never happens now. It's always edited out. But it's just funny, how people do stumble over the words and they don't bother changing it because, I don't know, I guess there are more important things to think about back then.
It's a bit like listening to the raw audio of this podcast, isn't it?
Oh, God. If that ever sees the light of day, we'll be ruined.
I always delete the evidence after I've made the episode, mate. Don't worry.
Very wise. Although Joey Barter's got a lot over us, hasn't he, Scott? We don't want to piss him off.
He absolutely does. Yeah, we need to keep him sweet. That's for sure.
Right, on to the next clip. This is just a very short one. So this is another Tomorrow's World episode from 1991, and we're starting at 22 minutes and 26 seconds in.
Look at this jacket, by the way.
Just pausing on that jacket, it looks very much like something that the Romanian football team would have worn at the 1990 World Cup, had they qualified, which I don't think they did. But
no, they did. They got knocked out on penalties by the Republic of Ireland. Yeah, very famously.
Yeah, okay. Yes, of course. But I think they must have given away their tracksuits at the end of that tournament because this presents.
This looks very flammable.
It does, yeah. Right, so let's start at 22:26.
It could explain how a father's job could increase his child's risk.
I also, just pausing it there, I do like that transition, the very serious transition of her saying this technology could reduce a parent's risk of their child getting leukemia. Very serious. She looks to the side and then there's this other presenter sat in front of a screen that has a picture of a panda that says sheep eater. So a fine transition there in terms of tone.
And again, can we just take a look at this mustard roll neck and burgundy jacket combination?
Yes.
I mean, this is out of this world as well. This is fantastic.
It is. It's quite Alan Partridge, isn't it?
It really is. Sorry, let's go.
According to a report in this Monday's Wenhua Daily, zoologists in China are trying to find out why a panda called Jia Qin Shan Mei, which normally eats bamboo, is eating sheep.
It's just a great line.
Yeah. Why are they covering this?
I don't know.
I thought this program was about sort of advances in technology, and now we're covering quirks of the natural world.
Yeah, killer pandas eating sheep. I'm not sure if this is the panda in question that's been mauling the ovine population of China, but looks harmless enough there.
I think the biggest clue is probably in the statement there that the low-lying bamboo forests are all being razed to the ground
yes.
for agriculture and housing, which is forcing the pandas to find alternative nutrition.
Yeah. Could that possibly be the answer? I imagine the tabloids in China had an absolute field day with that story.
And then at the end, The presenter posits on the question: has the panda just gone mad? Is it mad?
Yeah. Oh, I do like that one.
Oh, well, my favourite's coming up. I think it hasn't been passed yet.
Okay.
But I'll let you know when I see my favourite one.
Right. So the next video we are going to is not actually Tomorrow's World. It's the Australian equivalent of Tomorrow's World, which was called Beyond 2000, which is very similar to Tomorrow's World. The music itself is really similar. And this is from 1992. And we are going from the start until 4 minutes 30. So let's start at the beginning. I think they're talking about wearable computers.
So if that guy's pullover was a goalkeeper shirt, I would have bought that by now. And this is the latest in wearable tech. This is what we're looking at.
Yeah. Look at that. What? I mean, the keyboard, it's like a sort of keyboard for typing, but there's no lettering on it at all or anything. It's like playing the guitar, kind of. You just have to do it by feel, I guess.
Muscle memory. Yeah, absolutely.
But it's sort of bigger than a guitar fretboard, really, because it's so wide.
I don't know what this thing is, but it's got a CD-ROM on the shoulder, which is amazing.
And look at the backdrop as well. Just pay attention to the backdrop for a moment. How much of the budget they use for that.
And here we go. Now this is what the guy in the Jaguar factory had.
Yeah.
A laptop with a shoulder strap, although his shoulder strap didn't have a CD-ROM drive. Let's be fair.
Yes, it's true.
In the not too distant future,
this computer also looks like a real cut above the one that the guy in the Jag factory was using.
But can you imagine this if we were all walking around in the street with full-size laptops strapped to our bodies at all times?
Can you imagine what would happen when it was raining? Just be chaos. Everyone would have massive golf umbrellas, wouldn't they?
Make things even worse. Nice little mention there of the Williams F1 car there from 1991, I think.
Yeah.
The Canon sponsored Williams Formula 1 car on the screen there. But this is just... This is bonkers.
It is.
I don't know what else to say.
I guess everyone is sort of walking around with computers now, with smartphones, but it makes more sense when it can just go in your pocket rather than be strapped around you like futuristic armor.
I've always tried with this podcast, and I know you have as well. I've always tried not to stray into the sort of, oh, look how crap things were in the 90s, ha ha ha. Like, we wouldn't do that. Our love for the 90s, I would like to think, has been demonstrated to the readers by now to an extent that they know that we wouldn't stoop to such cheap things.
Yes.
But this is utterly bizarre. Utterly bizarre.
It is.
What is that? What is it?
For the 21st century,
it's just lots of big chunks of grey plastic with loads of tiny buttons on with no markings.
Some chilling words here by the presenter which actually have come into fruition. No need to stop work just because you've left the office.
Yeah,
yes,
I
indeed.
thought that.
Haven't we all experienced that creeping in over the last 10 years or so?
If you need to be hands-free, dictate it using speech recognition directly onto the page.
Little bit of life advice, guys. When you finish your contracted hours and a day's work, just shut down and walk out. All right? Don't feel any embarrassment about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Please do it for the sake of your own mental health and well-being.
To make a few extra calls on your way home.
This episode is sponsored by the CEOs of the FTSE 100.
And God knows what's going on here.
Yeah. What? It's actually dragging a giant wristwatch down the street.
One of those Swatch ones that you used to get on the wall. It's like a wall clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it looks like.
Using integrated circuit cards.
I don't understand the flexible bit. What is that?
However, not all the wearable computers are for work. Leisure appliances will also become apparel. If you've ever found yourself running after a small child, video camera in hand, then you'll understand the design motivation behind the webcam.
I mean, to be fair, a lot of cyclists, I guess, do wear cameras on them, so that's not a million miles away from something we do have, although not that screen.
But this is so restrictive as to prevent you from running behind a small child or riding a bike or anything like that.
and magnetic float suspension. Now, if your camera
Yeah, it's got
work
like a crook
still
lock
doesn't
that's
make
sort of
the grade,
attached to
then
the
with
front
all
and
these
like,
features, don't
if you
worry,
fell over when
because
you're running
pictures
after a kid
recorded
wearing
on
that,
an optical
you'd
disc can
have
be
your eye out.
erased.
Right, I think that's it for that one. Fascinating wearable tech that I don't think any of which really took off.
No, I don't think so. I would love to see things in the office where I work if people had little neck straps for their laptops. So there seems to be a recurring theme that you can walk around with a laptop computer balanced on your tummy with some straps going around your neck to keep it steady, and you can keep on working even when you're going to the water cooler or you're at lunch. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. So the next one we're going to look at is from 1994, and we're back to Tomorrow's World. And this is Tomorrow's World talking about the internet. So let's go on to this. This is the whole clip we're watching here.
Imagine a world where every word ever written, every picture ever painted, and every film...
There are a lot of classic screensavers on display here in the background on these CRT monitors.
A high-capacity digital communications network.
The information superhighway was a real buzzword back then, wasn't it?
It really was.
Interactive entertainment centre with the odd stock exchange and shopping centre thrown in. It sounds pretty grand, but it all comes down to computers communicating. And in fact, that's already happening on something called the internet, that anyone in the world with a computer and a modem to connect it to a telephone line can subscribe to. There are over 20 million people connected up, and one person in particular I know is connected is the American President, Bill Clinton.
Now, this is brilliant. I really like this.
Computer to write to him today, and I've already got a reply from the White House, and here it is. Right. Thank you for writing to President
You can see
Clinton
it's an auto response.
They
just set up an auto response.
The world's first out of office.
And it goes on to give some details of his
But this is a trend because the president appears again later on, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. Yeah.
So he was the go-to man for demonstrating the internet.
Yes, he seemed to be, yeah. Well, I'm just going to slightly rewind here, actually, a couple of seconds, because I like her tone of voice when she's discussing the current British government. If you just listen to how she phrases this.
Now, I can't electronically mail our Prime Minister, John Major, because he hasn't got a modem, and I can't find out what his government's policy on information superhighways is, because it hasn't got one. At least nothing beyond the usual thing of leaving it to market forces. But you can do more than just send messages.
She clearly does not feel very favourably towards the major government in the UK at this time.
Absolutely not.
And,
very withering.
As well. This is
on the national broadcaster as well.
It says it's off the information superhighway. That's its
there
address.
is another.
There is again.
Another shout for the information superhighway.
There's a flower shop, and it shows me the picture of the flowers I can order and tells me how much they cost. Then all I have to do is tap in the address I want them to go to, and of course I have to give them my credit card details to pay. And there's even some stuff about us in it.
Very dangerous.
Let me just find that for you.
Yeah,
because
she sounded like she was a bit worried,
some
didn't she?
details on the internet about tonight's programme and some pictures as well. It's all good fun, but what limits the potential of all this is that it's relatively slow. You can't play a video down this. And in fact, most of that stuff we've had to receive in advance.
So even those pages that are just like emails and text, they had to get it all saved and ready because it was going to load too slowly.
To be fair, that's exactly what I have to do with stuff for this podcast.
Yeah,
I've still got to load things up an hour in advance. Not much has changed in 30 years.
You can send high quality sound and video as well. So when are we going to
I'm quite surprised that they were already thinking about, well, already noticing that it was very slow, but also thinking like eventually we're going to want to send videos and audio and stuff. They were like, you know, trying to go faster than they could technologically.
Anything they like on it, video, music, telephones, data, the lot, as long as they let other people provide services on it too. But it's not just a license to print money. The companies will also be compelled to connect every classroom and library free of charge, so society stands to benefit as well.
I
Here in
don't
Britain,
think
though,
so. I
restrictions
don't know. I
still
guess I would have been too young to really be up on what the laws around that were and what was being mandated by the government. But I don't know.
Now, this is very good. This is a very embryonic sort of catch-up service, on-demand service here on the TV.
Yeah, I was really surprised at this, that they were already talking about on-demand TV. Look, it's Top Gear and Watchdog and Crime Watch. So it's like they were actually, it's a proto iPlayer, isn't it, really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, the other thing is, because it's interactive,
I don't know what Travelodge was, if that's just a made-up thing.
No. This is pretty sweet.
Tell me that,
yeah.
but I can even
analysed what he's wearing.
That seems like something that was... Yeah, that's only quite recently come in, isn't it?
But
I didn't know that Mark Hughes doubled up as a travel programme presenter as well.
This
during
must
his
have
time
been...
at Man United and Chelsea in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
But
she slightly sarcastically says, "Oh, Armani," as well. I think she was, yeah.
She also says that she'll be very impressed when she sees it actually rolled out down old phone lines.
Britain develops its own
Yeah.
of what sort of information superhighway it wants.
Lovely
and
stuff.
How to get it.
So yes, I think we'll be... Actually, the next video is quite similar. And this is from the year after, 1995. It's BBC again, but this time it's on Blue Peter. So let's see what they're saying about the internet. Starting from the beginning here, I think.
If you're wondering exactly how you talk to Antarctica on the World Wide Web, it doesn't involve spiders. You just go
lovely
surfing
stuff
on
there.
the net, or to put it another way,
classic web gag.
Connected to the internet. Hang on to your hats. Here comes a drive.
Listen to the music here.
Fantastic. Bristol's very own.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I'm very disappointed that we didn't get a clear shot of the car that Diane Louise Jordan was driving here. I was really hoping we'd get one. I don't suppose you can tell from the headrest what it is, can you?
I'm not that good, no. But yeah, for anyone who isn't watching along, this is Diane Louise Jordan on Blue Peter discussing the future of the internet. And they're talking about fibre optic cables already.
Yeah.
Make the system even more effective in the future.
I'm in an ultra cool and swinging London internet cafe here.
Yeah, it's called Siberia. I wonder if it's still there.
You can go surfing as well. Surfing the internet, I mean. You see, I know everything about computer lingo.
Computer lingo, surfing the internet.
A global network of millions of computers, all for the price
Look
of a
at
local
this.
form.
This reminds me of T3A at school.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
That was
That's going to mean
computer
nothing
room.
to anyone,
Or
but it does.
in the USA.
There you go. I don't know what to tell you.
Right, let's see what's on here.
Look at that page loading.
And we're at the White House again. What is their obsession with it?
About the White House. Send a message to the president.
Sending another message to the president. This is a year later, remember?
Here we go. Now, dear Mr. President, what shall I write? Oh, yeah, I know.
Do you think the president ever saw this? Not a chance.
No, I think he was busy with other things around this time, wasn't he?
He might well have been, yeah.
I think I'll send that now.
That's not enough of a message, Diane.
No.
Dear Mr. President, best regards, Blue Peter. Oh, he's replied already.
Now she's annoying the shit out of everybody around her, trying to actually get some work done by playing stuff out of the speakers.
And if you listen carefully, Clinton starts glitching, and it just starts repeating over and over again. The person next to us like laughing at it.
Oh, there are so many.
Yeah, I don't know why everyone was trying to contact Bill Clinton in the dawn of the internet.
Really peculiar subjects like.
Seemed like an exotic thing to do, I suppose.
Exactly how that feels. But of course, the internet is not just about taking information; it's about sharing it as well. And I reckon on Blue Peter we've got quite a lot of information that we'd like to share.
I forgot how cool Diane Louise Jordan was.
So I think it's time that Blue Peter went.
And now we're going to get to see fresh-faced Tim Vincent as well into the bargain.
Dominic Malaise was preparing to put Blue
Peter heartthrob of the day.
Tim and I were there.
I love the idea that the Blue Peter computer department is always like swathed in darkness. In some sort of forgotten office in the BBC where nobody ever goes.
Yeah, just old Blue Peter annuals scattered around the desks.
Accessing information.
Why are they sat in the dark? And why does Tim Vincent look so uncomfortable?
Excellent. That's sounds perfect.
Something's happened to him
so
down
there,
there,
hasn't it?
I think so.
Because even people in Britain might be interested in that because it's been going so long.
Yeah, and you can even have the text of all this.
All of these books will soon become obsolete.
Look up stuff, they can actually search it. So they can
I mean, it is true that no one reads Blue Peter annuals anymore.
That happened in that year. Excellent.
The other thing about Blue Peter is that a lot of our ideas come from children that write into us.
Yeah.
Can they leave messages on our computer?
We can set that up.
We can pick up from that.
Even if we can't think of everything at the moment, if you can get in touch with
I think
your
there's
viewers
about to
via
be
the
a
internet,
quick cutaway
they can
shot
tell you
where
what they want to see, and
this guy's putting a disc in. What is that disc? What is that?
I think this is an Apple computer, so presumably it was an Apple disc of some sort.
Did you also notice how he used the mouse? He didn't know how to use a mouse. His hand was like sideways across it. His knuckles were over the buttons. It made no
I didn't
sense.
spot that. I'll have to go back and look.
But how easy or cheap is it to get connected? And can you use an
This is by far the best part of this
this
film.
In your school, it's
Yeah.
likely to
With these
be one
awkward
of
primary school kids.
The problem is that
They're on an
up until
Acorn.
now,
We had an Acorn
it
at
hasn't
Regis
been
around
possible
this
to
time.
connect them to the
Fond
internet.
memories of the
But
Acorn.
coming on the market
Yeah.
soon is some software that will allow you to gain access.
Look at that.
Potter's Green School in Coventry has recently been connected to
That kid's using the mouse properly. There you go.
Yeah.
world of new opportunities.
That guy could learn a thing or two. The BBC tech guy.
So what are you going to do now?
Planets.
Planets?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a map of the world.
Oh, these poor kids.
Just cloud, the thin cloud, the dark.
Although this probably made their
Oh,
lives
the
at this
rain.
point, you know.
Oh yeah.
We've been to
Yeah.
Hawaii.
Yeah. I love it. You're so international. I've been to Hawaii.
Yeah, not okay. We get it. You haven't been to Hawaii, literally. Yeah. The kid keeps saying it.
You're in touch with the whole world, really.
Yeah.
And she says, "Yeah, not literally." Again, and then Jan Lee Jordan says, "Yeah, I know."
Yeah, but that couldn't be printed because it was too long.
What do you think about using the internet?
It's very good because it helps with your schoolwork a lot, and it's just. Really
I mean,
good. You get lots
you
of
wait till you see
information.
Wikipedia. That's really going to
Yeah.
help with your schoolwork.
Game changer.
Yeah, but this is more fun as well.
I don't know. I would say that
Some things
Wikipedia
are
actually
not
had a
in
negative
the
effect on my A
books
levels.
Now.
Well, just constantly scrolling through the discography of Stereophonics and
Yeah, 90s
Fire.
footballer careers. Yeah, that sort of thing.
yeah. Oh, I still do so much of
the
that.
internet
Oh,
because
some
it
great,
fantastic.
great
information
talking
on
head
the
kids here.
planets, and especially
Some great
the
green
book
screen
because
work
you
here
get
as well.
pictures
Yeah.
of all the planets. The best thing about it is
Do you
that
feel a
it's
little
going
bit
really,
sick?
really quick. And it's quicker than having to actually write a letter and send it through the post. It's more up to date than a book, and you feel like you've got the world at your fingertips.
Great buzz term
If you're
there.
going on holiday, you can see what the weather's going to be like, and it's really good. And it's not just school stuff. You
I mean,
can find out
who hasn't used the
about-
internet to check
by
the weather where they're going on
you'll be able
holiday?
to find out about films
When
that
you're
come
10 years
out.
old.
Yeah.
The funny is these. Oh yeah, there's definitely a Mark 1 Mondeo there in the background. That's the only car I can identify. But yeah, these kids will be almost exactly the same age as me, I think. So.
Peugeot 405 estate there, possibly.
Blue Peter pages
Stuart Miles. I'd forgotten all about
Stuart Miles, that's it. Look at the state of that website. if anything was ever cobbled together for a quick release, it's that. I mean, it's just that's not making anyone want to go on there.
Mate,
Great stuff.
It was 29 years ago. I think we got to let it go.
Fair enough. Right, I'm just going to go to the toilet before we watch the last one, otherwise I'm going to be too distracted. So.
All right, hurry up.
On to our final video then. This is from towards the end of the decade, 1998, and it's Tomorrow's World again, 22nd of April, 1988, so actually very close to today's date. And we're going to start that now.
This is my favourite.
We're starting from, where are we starting from on this one? 8 minutes 50. So if you scroll forward to 8 minutes 50.
Okay. When summer finally comes, I want you to smell as fresh as daisies.
We all know the problem.
Straight in with the sniff of the trainer. Straight in.
So he's just spraying some of his normal deodorant into his shoes there. This is Jez Nelson, by the way, presenting on Tomorrow's World here.
Professional gym trainer. Must be a nightmare for you. Have you got stinky feet?
I've got very stinky feet. Yeah, I mean, I wear my trainers pretty much all day, every day.
I reckon this guy's a bit of a lad, isn't he?
I'd say so, yeah.
Man about town? I think so.
Yeah.
Now look at these. These are the worst trainers I've ever seen.
They're very much generic trainer, aren't they?
Yeah. This is like market stall.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
You remember brand the trainers Mercury? Do you remember those?
Oh yes, I do remember Mercury.
Mercury train. That's what that reminded me of.
Yeah. And they're spraying deodorant directly into the sole of said trainer through a little hole.
Every time your heel hits the ground, it creates a vacuum and pulls the deodorant up from the cavity through the sole of the trainer and into your socks. And there's a one-way valve, so the deodorant can't be forced back out through the hole. And my feet feel very fresh, actually. I'm completely pooped.
I don't know if
it's not needed, is it? We don't need it.
It's just not needed, no.
Berry, they're on the row machine. Sorry.
I love how there's just a random elderly woman also using the gym in the background.
How are your feet then? They actually feel quite dry. Yeah? Yeah.
Okay, well, let's put it to the...
It's not a real test. You've just done 5 minutes of on-air pretend exercise.
Not a bad little bouquet. Quite fresh. Yeah, not bad.
I mean, no new trainer smells after that one session.
No.
But anything that helps make my trainers last a little bit longer can't be a bad thing.
Oh, look, he's got an early mobile phone there.
Oh, no.
And then that's the end of that segment.
He's off to do some gardening in a Volkswagen Transporter.
Yes, with an automatic lawnmower, which actually did work out because you do get them now. So an example of some tech that did last, unlike the deodorized trainer, which I was looking up before the record today, and I couldn't find any sign of that ever existing post 1998. If ever going on the market. So
yeah, I was going to say Mercury never did bring that to the market stalls of the UK then.
No.
Okay, well, that is a shame.
It's just not really there. It's not big enough to need this new technology, and it's sub Reebok pump, isn't it? That's how useless it is.
Like Kate Bellingham said earlier on Tomorrow's World, the market forces clearly had their say in the end.
So, was there anything you saw there that you thought was a real indicator of where things were going, or anything that was almost there even back then in the 90s?
Well, I mean, the two that we watched specifically regarding the internet, the Tomorrow's World clip and the Blue Peter clip, I mean, they were pretty much there. The internet then didn't have an awful lot more functionality than what was displayed there, probably for the next 3 or 4 years, I think. It was only really around the turn of the millennium and the introduction of broadband connection speeds and things really sort of picked up in terms of the internet and how things could be presented. So I think those two clips were really on the ball. I can guarantee you that the next time I go into the office for a day's work, I am going to throw a strap around my laptop and carry it around my neck for the day and just see what happens, see what glances I get, see who comes up to talk to me and ask me what's going on. I'd be really interested in that as a social experiment. Maybe I could add the CD-ROM, the shoulder-mounted CD-ROM, and then see if that garners any other particular interest. It's been very interesting and fun to look back at this because, I mean, like we said at the top, I don't think anybody's looking at what things are going to be like 20 years from now in a similar way anymore. And it's really good to look back on these.
It feels like a nice sort of innocent look at future tech in a world of terrifying AI advances and such like. So, yeah, very nice.
Well, we hope you enjoyed our roundup of predictions of the technological future from the 1990s. That was certainly a very fun thing to do. Maybe we'll go back again and look at some more examples of that in a future episode. Next time on the pod, we're going to be looking at the dark side of the 90s and things that we don't like about the 90s. Obviously, we're normally very positive on this podcast, so I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about this. Have you got any early thoughts on this, Alex? How it's going to go?
I think it's going to be very difficult because it's the finest decade. So how do you find things you don't like about it? But I'm sure with a bit of thought, then some things will come to mind.
Absolutely, thinking caps on for that one. But in the meantime, how can our listeners get in touch with us about this episode or any other episodes that they've heard?
They can contact us on Twitter or Instagram or email or just through the comments underneath our episodes. All of the links for those things are on our link tree, which is linked to below. So click on that and you'll find all the relevant links. And please do get in touch.
Plenty of ways to get in touch. I mean, we check some of them sort of semi-regularly, don't we?
Yes.
So there's a chance we'll pick them up.
Yes, there's a chance, but the mailbag has been a bit light over the last few episodes, and we do want to hear more from you because we love interacting with you. So we'll make an extra special effort to check the mailbag this time. So yeah, don't let that put you off.
Well, we look forward to hearing them from you then before our next episode, and until we meet on the airwaves once again, it's goodbye from me. I'm just off to find a CD-ROM for my shoulder-mounted disk drive.
And I'm just off to spray some Lynx Java into my dApps.
Bye for now.
Bye.